Welcome to Alive on One, a miniature-based podcast based out of New England. We're here today to talk about some Marvel Crisis Protocol. It's cold outside, and today we're going to talk about cold crimes. Today I have with me Stephen Bork. Say hi.
Hey.
And joining me from Stephen is busy, goofing off, during this podcast, so that's why I'm hosting today. So it is what it is, folks. That's okay. It'll be good. But we'd like to hail our friend from the north in an even colder climate, all the way from Montreal. We have Simon. Say hi, Simon. Good. Thanks for coming. Happy New Year, by the way. Yeah. So, I'm happy to have Simon join us today because we're going to talk about a pretty large affiliation today by the name of Criminal Syndicate. And you know what? Why talk about anyone else but Claw, right? That's right.
And on one note, though, I can't believe it's taken us this long to do Criminal Syndicate. We've been around for almost 2 years, and they're one of the largest affiliations. And I even played them for a time, for a solid 6 to 8 months when I first started. So it's just I don't know. This has just been. I think a lot of things changed. We had been planning on doing a CS episode, and then they added that box with the Spider Foes box, and then they added a bunch more over one summer, and then they've just consistently been adding models to their lineup. So I think I just kept pushing it off. But we're here.
Yeah.
One of the fun things with CS, you so often randomly get a model or two in every wave for a reason or another. So it's they eat very well. Crime does pay.
Yeah, during this 2 years, I feel like they've easily eclipsed Cabal as the bad guy affiliation now with just the sheer model count.
Yeah, they're probably around the same rate, a little over, somewhat over 30 models.
I think so. Yeah, they're still just under, but the thing is they've gotten all the new bad guys, and that means they've had the newer designs.
Yeah.
Sorry, train's coming through, folks, so you'll have to deal with that.
Yeah, there are 2 models difference. Just looked it up. 37 for Cabal and 35 for Criminal right now. So they're close.
They're quickly
very,
approaching.
very close.
Man, yep. And we do know that there's at least some models coming down the grapevine as well. Because I think apparently Ironmonger's going to be a new CS piece, and that guy is going to be incredible as well.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to add him to the CS roster.
Yep. But today we're going to talk about current release ones that you can actually play, and there's still quite a few of them for us to talk about. So moving on to our first segment, tangentially related, I have an Alive One story. I was just playing Claw CS earlier against some folks, and it's been really interesting to sort of figure out what ways I can make my characters die to make sure we trigger the leadership. But on top of that, I've been running Encanto because I'm looking for just people to get dazed all the time. So my Alive One just basically involved Encanto being in the middle of the board, and Miguel just tried to kill him on his backside. Just barely missed it. I think my opponent unfortunately rolled a 10 dice all webbed up into another character at some point with Miguel, and he just couldn't do any damage to them either. So it was just a rough game for him as a whole. But yeah, easily, Encanto just load on 3 soul tokens. We just do 2 spenders into Miguel, and it was just a bad time for him. So that's him. And then I think he was dazed by or killed by Amazing Spider-Man or Mordo by that point, but he did his job. So happy with that.
Wait, who ran Mordo and Webs?
Oh, so shout out to Rat. He goes by A Rat in Nazi server.
Ron. I'm just thinking of that sketch from Key and Peele. But okay.
Yeah. Yep. No, I mean he was a really cool opponent. So shout out to it was a great game. So really,
that's
really
an interesting pick. So
yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's for me. You guys have anything for hobby catch-ups?
Yeah, actually, tangentially related. I bought the Spider Foes box, the new starter set. because it's one of the factions where I was missing a lot of models, and where incidentally a lot of them are criminal affiliated. So I'm having them commission painted to join the rest of my CS models.
Nice. I am continuing my trek of building the Warhammer 40,000 Tau models. I have been building all month and recording these episodes. So, oh my god, it's been a great month off. I gotta say, my school starts next week, but man, recording episodes can become a slog. So, you're welcome, listeners. But
we know you miss 40K. Yeah. I appreciate that. I do appreciate also, like, Simon, when the hub section comes up, Simon's very much me. It's like, well,
oh, yeah.
I happily contribute to my local economy to have.
I am a patron of the arts, and luckily for me, the tax code in Canada lets me write it off as a charitable donation. So I get 75% of my commissions back from tax breaks.
Not to throw it out there, but my books are open for commissions if people like Grimdark Style. just saying.
I still think it's hilarious. Like, out of all the armies you pick the least Grimdark faction.
I know.
Go back in 4K.
No, so while we're on hobby, I do have this like really cool idea, and that was what I miss 40K, whatever. Just like playing large scale army games occasionally, and we've talked about that extensively on other episodes. But not extensively, but anyways, one of the things was I was talking to Rob about like this cool Farsight Grimdark color scheme, and so he's been like kind of helping me pick out the colors and then cell shading some parts. So it's like going to be like a Grimdark style metallic with like kind of a cell shaded esque like armor, like Farsight enclaves. So like a red, like deep red, and I'm going to build it up on using the color wheel. So it's like really a cool project, which is why I committed to it actually. Nice. Yeah. So I like painting. It's like, I know Waller likes painting too. So I know I'm outnumbered on this podcast, but
well, like that's one of the things, right? Like whenever I'm one of the persons that buys most MCP releases. So often when I end up in tournaments, I already have most boxes. So like even if I don't paint, I'm able to grab like the paint schemes and all the paints and just ship them to my paint guy so they get some use and I get discounts. So like it lets me grab additional prize supports and fund the arts.
Yo, that'd be dope if someone commissioned me and then sent me paints too.
So, like I know Nick Menard does the same thing. We have the same painter, and it's just like it's nice to be able to do that and just like fund art projects and have your models painted, because I love having models painted. I love like painting the techniques and everything, but I hate doing it. So I'm very glad to throw money at the problem until it goes away.
You know what I hate doing? Building models. But that's another story for a different time.
You say that, but I do pay someone to build my own model.
Oh, I would.
Out of the 200 MCP models, I have almost all of them, and there's only one I've built myself.
So you just send the boxes, and then like a month later, they come back painted and built?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah, the building is the one thing I do actually take some pleasure out of, because I think the way they push fit the parts again, the key, the joints, has been really nice comparatively to the other miniature games I've played so far. So I guess maybe because I've gone through hell with some other companies, this is a joy, I guess, to put together as far as models.
Well, they're kind of like adult Legos. Some people like that, some people don't, Yeah. So, but I guess also moving on.
About. What? No, Steven, you're not the host. What? Okay,
I know. Sorry, Jian.
Anyway, we're moving on.
I am still trying to keep us on time.
All right. So, upcoming events. Just want to clarify that CaptainCon is still happening. We currently are up to 6 sign-up teams. I do have a 7th team in the works, so we're now looking for an 8th team to just make this a nice full bracket for everybody. So, just a reminder: everyone will have to buy their con badges separately, but the event ticket itself, which I think is only like $20 or so, actually covers the entire team for that weekend. So please check it out. We're going to be in Warwick, Rhode Island. So singles event on January 30th. Then the 31st and February 1st is going to be the actual team event. So we hope to see everybody there. It should be a good time. A lot of great people and a lot of familiar faces that you may have heard on this podcast are coming here for that.
It's a pretty baller group of people, just to like shout that out there. So come and hang out with us. A lot of people from Jersey that I fucking love, plus Ben.
Yeah, I begrudgingly, yes, Ben's coming as well.
Yeah.
So just kidding, Ben. We love you. So after that, we do also have the Alive on One tourney for charity. That's going to be on March 21st at the Midgard Games, right? In Derry.
Yep.
So Derry, New Hampshire. Anything you want to talk about that, Stephen?
No. Sign up. We're not sure who's going to go, but it filled up pretty quickly last year, so I've been trying to plug that early. In February, I'll probably go a little bit more ham with plugging it, but as of right now, we have 18, 17 if Simon dropped, which I saw.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not sure if we can make it, so I would rather not block someone else's spots.
Well, I actually have the opposite opinion, but yeah. I say sign up even if you can't make it. If you have to drop, you have to drop, and then we'll have kind of like final numbers there. But last year we had 38, and so I know it's the weekend before Adepticon. Unfortunately, it's scheduled by the store. I would not typically pick that weekend for it, but here we are. So if you're not going to Adepticon, it's probably easier to get to.
Yeah, but if you're in the area, like it is a 1-day event, so like we intend to finish in 1 day. It should be a great time for MCP. It just goes to a charitable cost, and like the games have been very good from the last one. I understand.
Yep. I was there last time. It was super fun. It was really packed, and it's for a good cause. We had a blast. So Midgard's a fun LGS as well. So like it's a very chill environment. There's places, a lot of choice of places to eat nearby. It's just an overall like very solid event. It was great last year.
New Hampshire is awesome too. So
yep, hopefully we'll be able to make it again this year.
Yeah,
I hope so.
But if you're interested in going, just sign up anyway. The worst that happens is like, logistics don't pan out, and you just you drop right afterwards.
Yeah, we'd rather get like a kind of tally beforehand. And as well, if you need any recommendations for anything New Hampshire related, just reach out to me on our Discord. I know the area pretty well. I did, in fact, grow up here.
That's a good argument.
Turns out that helps. But yeah, so that is on the 21st of March.
Okay, good. All right, so I guess we'll timestamp this here, and then we can move on to our actual topic then. So today we're going to be talking about Criminal Syndicate, one of the most interesting and most versatile like affiliations in Marvel Crisis Protocol. It started out like bringing just the Kingpin affiliation for a while, and that led itself to a very interesting like non-interactive like playstyle, as in like a non-attacking. It was like the most pacifistic like playstyle that I've seen. But then you've gotten like 3 other leaders since then, so like I think it's going to be worth it for us to sort of like talk about each leader. Give a brief overview of their playstyle, maybe give you a couple of model recommendations, and then we kind of go from there. But before that, though, I do want to just kind of go over the general team tactics cards that they have available within their affiliation. So there's about 6 of them, and I think we'll just go through each one if you guys are okay with that, and we can kind of just go through like our quick thoughts and opinions on each of them.
Yep.
So the premier one that I think everyone's like very familiar with is going to be All According to Plan. Now, for listeners, this is a tactics card you play during the power phase. Collectively, your Criminal Syndicate characters need to pay 10 altogether. It can be any Criminal Syndicate, and any different number of them can pay into this. But if you pay that 10 power, you then get to take the priority than from the person that would normally have it. So typically, you would play this when you don't think you would have priority. So yeah, Simon, what do you think about All According to Plan?
I think it's arguably CS's strongest card, but it's also one that like requires a surprising amount of finesse to be able to leverage properly. I think we'll be able to go into it further when we go like through each of the leaders, but I feel All According to Plan is a card that you can easily not play at the right time or not pay with the right model, or even bring when you should have left it on the bench. Like, it's a card that is extremely strong, but to be able to leverage it properly requires a good amount of like understanding how the flow of a game works, and that makes it hard to leverage properly. So what I mean by that is that I think it's strongest in more attrition-y type of CS, like mostly Shadowlands and MODOK, where it can be good with Kingpin, but it's definitely one of the places where the opportunity cost of spending 10 powers on your models to maybe not have a super high impact activation looks more tempting than is actually efficient on the board. So it's like surprisingly tricky to play there.
Yeah. On that note too, Simon, I think in Kingpin I most often use it defensively to like get out of a sticky situation. Like where you're going to die and you need the points or something like that.
That's where I feel like would, like, for me, where would another defensive tactics card would have been better there, maybe. Like, it's something that's very hard to gauge unless like you've seen it and practiced it and like gone through it. And I feel it's something you can try to avoid through gameplay in a certain way, but we'll get around that like when we go through Kingpin, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, I think it leans definitely more into the list that, want to take away activations and go last. But also, power question is always like a big thing, right? Depending on like what's the ratio of like criminal models that you take versus your splashes.
And like 10 power, even if you spread it on your model, is a lot of power. Like, it's superpowers you're not doing, it's suspenders you're not doing, it's like a bunch of things. Like, there's a very real opportunity cost to paying 10 power.
Well,
that's why.
Yeah, some characters, some more than others. Some just generate batteries that don't, they don't really use it. But you're right, for the most part. It's resources that could have gone into superpowers or gameplays that, that you could have done, but now you're choosing not to do.
But it's definitely extremely, extremely strong.
Yes, agreed. So quickly moving on to Bounty Hunter. So Bounty Hunter, this is a card that Electra or Taskmaster have to play. They mark an enemy, and then they have to be dazed or KO'd by that allied Electra or that allied Taskmaster, and then you get some rewards for it. It's not played in general. My general read on this, and you guys can chime in if you disagree, but basically, because you have to mark the opponent on deployment, you can easily just sort of like have that character sort of avoid that interaction to begin with.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to counterplay against that card. So, tactics card that's very easy to play around, unfortunately doesn't get used like, too much as far as the pick goes.
Yeah, and the payoff is also not great. Like, an additional action is like not crazy either. Either on Taskmaster or Electra, like, both have fairly tight and self-sufficient kits. So, like, playing a tactics card to maybe get one extra action seems like a very steep cost for a middling payoff.
Yeah, I think also like man, I'm looking at this card now. And it's like it's got the Silver Sable like art on it, and I'm just like, it's like, should this have been a Silver Sable card? Actually, I mean, that would have been more interesting, actually, in my opinion, because at least she's interacting from range 5. Yep. So anyway, that's a more of a wish listy thing at this point. I just realized as I'm looking at this. But okay, unfortunately, but that's okay. There's still plenty of other criminal cards that are very good and very flavorful that do have good payoff to VP sort of like, getting ratio. So let's go on to Cruel Tutelage. Now, this one's interesting. Cruel Tutelage, any Criminal Syndicate character can just pay 1 to play this card. Next attack they get to add 3 dice to it. If they get a failure result skull in that result, they will get a stagger condition at the end of their activation. So this is kind of like you're betting big on an attack. I've seen some people mention it's like, it's pretty funny that Black Cat can get a Malekith Old Builder like with this ability, and maybe that's really a good way for some characters to generate power, especially if they have a builder. But have you guys seen that card in the wild, like usage or anything?
I have played that card a decent amount in like an older meta where you would need bigger dice pool to kill kaijus. more notably, and where the stagger wouldn't hit you as hard if like you're fighting big models that one-shot your models anyway. So like I think it has niche uses, but I think there's also a reason why we're not seeing it anymore as much.
Yeah, I played it in Maine back in the days of like iHulk, lots of iHulks, lots of Malchus.
Yeah.
So that's when it was
CGRs,
useful. Yeah,
Force
CGRs.
2.
Yeah, that's when it's most useful. I think if we see like maybe another E design or like more attrition-y big boys. I mean, Dormammu's out there now, I guess. So maybe you take it for that matchup. But um, other than that, yeah, I think it sits on the sidelines. I don't know if I take it in my list anymore, even like realistically.
I think it's
But
definitely a niche card. I think it's good on low-ish threat models that have decent attack as like kaiju killers. And I think that's probably where it's at its best. But like Steven said, unless we're going into a kaiju meta again, it's not a card I would expect to make my 10.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on if the environment will call for this card. But yeah, currently it's more dormant because we're just kind of playing a more like scoring focused thing. So we want to have more cards that like immediately lend into like either more attacks or priority control or some sort of like pacing control that you would have during the match. Like Brutal Lich is probably going to be better if we go maybe into a slower meta where you're just beating face all the time.
Yeah, I think it's a card worth keeping in mind, even if now is not the best time. It's not its most friendliest set.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, anytime that there's some sort of environmental shakeup, we always have to relook at cards and options again, right? To see if there's a new context for things.
yeah, and there's gonna be one soon. So like since this is airing in January, and within like 2 or 3 months, we're gonna get another shakeup. So maybe this is a card that you consider later.
Every CS player after the shakeup has Cruel Age in their list is like, well,
It's still mission playing. They just put it in.
yeah, it's still mission playing. But one card I think is definitely not going to go out of fashion is definitely going to be Cruelty. I really like Cruelty. Simon, do you have thoughts on Cruelty?
Yeah, Cruelty is an amazing card. I think it's definitely underrated. For me, it's extremely solid. As like I think everyone here and most people who played MCP, and if we look at the namesake of this podcast, we've all left models alive on one at some point. Cruelty gives you an attack, which very aptly is named Twist the Knife, which can let you like finish that model, get the key days or KO. Because it's a reactive card, it doesn't even require a CS model to play the card. Any model can play it. It's a range 5 attack with 5 dice. You can only get additional dice from crits, but if you're a character that can count blanks, or a character that gets to count an additional face, like Loki 2, for instance, or Domino can turn her skulls into crits, like any one of these types of models can make Cruelty a lot better as well. So like that's synergies worth keeping in mind as well.
Yeah, and a couple quick things is the fact that it says an ally character, so it doesn't have to actually be a CS model, right? Which is really cool. The other thing too, that this is something I often miss too, is that you have to make sure that the ally character actually deals damage
Yes.
To the enemy character with an attack. and then they're allowed to pay for it, because sometimes you whiff the attack, therefore I believe you cannot Cruelty it.
That is correct.
Okay.
And like it has cute synergies, like even in affiliation, if you're playing Bullseye, you can like throw a knife, deal a damage, throw a knife, deal a damage, and if your like second attack deals at least 1 without you using this power, you can Cruelty and like force at least 3 damage, like dicelessly on a target. So like there's some very important synergies in affiliation here.
Yes, agreed. Steven, any thoughts on Cruelty or just thumbs up?
Super good. I like it. I mean, it's good in every leader, but I especially like it in Shadowlands after like a Shadow Org too. If you like, not Shadow Org, all according plan turn when you like are really trying to let it rip, it's like very impactful. So, but yeah, thumbs up as well.
Okay, next card we can talk about is No Mercy. So it's a reactive Criminal Syndicate card, very straightforward. When an ally character would daze an enemy character, the allied character may play this card. They just gain 3 power.
Yeah, this card I think really grew into CS in like the past year and a half. I think it's a card we weren't seeing that much before, but in like the past 12 to 18 months has really been a mainstay of CS lists now, and for very good reasons. Being able to randomly gain 3 power when you daze a model, if you're playing characters like Loki 2 or Mephisto, or anyone with a lot of passive ping damage, this card is surprisingly easy to trigger, and fueling 3 power on models that can sometimes struggle to gain power, like Abomination or Mephisto. It's a big power surge that lets you do some really disgusting things.
Yeah, as they're trying to keep characters more in check by giving them just gainers and whatnot, those characters definitely get much more explosive activations, right? If they get that 3 additional power. So yeah, that's been like a really good use to see it. And again, doesn't have to be a CS model. Any allied character can get to play this, so your splashes are able to be qualified for this as well. Okay, last one is Shadow Organization. All right, so this is an OG card. Steven, did you get any good usage of Shadow Org back in the day?
I used to, especially, I mean, RIP Scoundrels, Kingpin Scoundrels. But on Scoundrels, I used to love it for like my backline. I say RIP Scoundrels because no one ever has to play you on Scoundrels anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, I it would be very situational. Like it would only come up if I thought the other team could out attrition me. And when that was the case, I typically had it in my back pocket because it's like a free range 2 stealth, right? So you get one turn where you can just be like, you can't really hit me unless you're on the point with me, essentially. And that kind of makes your opponent like play slightly differently. But
It's possibly still see this being interesting and like against other teams that may think they're good on Scoundrels. Like let's say you go in against like a Sam Wilson Hawkeye team, or because that would really screw the pooch on them. And to some degree, Web Warriors could also get messed up by this too, because they also assume they're going to be better on Scoundrels than you can sometimes.
Yeah, and I think if you're playing like a more Kingpin style of CS, helping protect your models from gun lines, like we can look at Guardians, we can look at Shield, we can look at like all these faction with a lot of long range guns, even like Dormammu. This card can help you like protect your model and force your opponents to make more move actions, so less attack actions into your model, and help you edge out your leadership for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I think the important thing for this card is knowing your matchup, like who's across the table from you, and then it becomes like really impactful. So it doesn't come out every game, but it does come out when it's when you face like one of those affiliations you just mentioned, or on like specific missions where you're kind of forcing, because in some ways it can like be a, what do they call that now? Not what do they call that when you move someone away, when you push them and it's like, oh, they're kind of staggered, but like forcing someone to double move instead of like taking a move in an attack action or something like that, like really hurts their economy and saves your models. And so the leaderships that's most valuable in is obviously Kingpin with models on their healthy side. So
Yep.
It's definitely a card worth keeping in your 10, but that doesn't make you buy it as often.
Right. This is going to be a sort of a matchup dependent card. And again, like if the environment shifts, right, and we could see gun lines once again, I think you'll definitely see this like taken more often. Like,
well, Shield's making a comeback, so that does kind of apply now.
It's not like a bunch of models just got buffed on their side. Yeah.
And I think like Guardians are still very solid, and it's a card worth keeping in your pocket there as well.
Yeah. No, agreed. So yeah, love Shadow Organization. Most of these cards are like very, very useful. 5 out of 6 super relevant cards, especially like depending on how the environment shifts and the playstyle that is adopted. I think is like a really good spot for a affiliation to be in. So yeah, some affiliations only get 1, maybe none.
Yep.
The other bad guy affiliation, Cabal, only gets 1 really good card, Dark Reign, and then these are like 4 or 5 really, really good cards. So Criminal's kind of spoiled in that aspect.
Yeah, exactly. And let's see. I think now we can just move on to the actual leadership. So the first archetype I think we want to go for is a Kingpin. This is probably the first introductory classic archetype that we've seen for Criminal Syndicate. So, Steven, can you tell me, or how would you describe Kingpin's playstyle?
Do you want me to joke about it?
I mean,
I've referenced this on other episodes. So Kingpin's playstyle is taking giant tough potatoes and double walking them onto points because they count as two models. Then also, the more finessey Kingpin is taking your potatoes and passing extracts between them. So, there you go.
yep. So
move, throw, baby.
Move, throw, or sometimes you just move, and just like ask them a question. It's like, can you stop me?
Or what I love the most about playing Kingpin is when you're on a clock and they're like, "All right, it's your activation," and I'm like, "Okay, cool, move, and click it back."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Simon, did you play any Kingpin?
Yeah, I played Kingpin a decent amount actually. I think, like Steven brought up, like there's two very different aspects to that leadership. I think the one that most people know and like have in mind is the your non-grunts counting twice as healthy character when contesting a token. So this only works on regular secures, not on pay to flips. So it has it's a very, very strong effect, but because it only counts on your healthy model, one of the ways to play around it is today's Kingpin's models. Whereas being able to pass extracts, like during your activation to a model within three of you, I think is definitely has definitely the most skill expression of the CS leaderships, and I think being able to leverage extra passing properly is what distinguish an okay CS player from an excellent CS player.
Yeah, specifically, good Kingpin players will be able to think about especially stackable assets or assets that maybe will alien core that it's like, oh, this guy's going to explode. I need to pass this off to somebody to make sure that it doesn't. So there's a lot of different things you can end up doing.
Hammers is the only stackable one now, though, isn't it?
Legacy Virus as well.
Legacy Virus and Struggle for the Cube. Those are three current stackable ones. This also means that within the affiliation, they are the best virus assemblers, just naturally.
Yes. Because they can all do it with the leadership.
Yeah,
but
it's a great mission for them, I think.
I think it's a very strong leadership, and I know the quote unquote potato style Kingpin has been a popular way to describe it, but I think currently we have been past that in the way Kingpin plays for a moment now, just because the meta's evolved, new models have been released, so it used to be the dominant way to play Kingpin, where I think now it's definitely still leaning into more scenario type play. You definitely have more option to play a more mid-rangey plan with extra pass now.
Yeah, and A-Bomb is an excellent Kingpin piece here, right?
Yeah,
a tough character that can also has a large base to make extra passing much more manageable.
Yeah, even Black Cat's actually quite incredible, right? Because she's awkward way very defensive. She's able to get onto a point, that's quite far away, so you are able to rotate your secure, leverage, right, using that leadership. And she has the ability to steal assets, right? So she definitely fits in this scoring plan. I think the most out of the other CS leaderships.
Yeah, because she can steal pass if she's got what is that would be 5 power.
Five power, yeah. I mean, a Flip Black Cat will absolutely have that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely worth keeping in mind. There's also other cute synergies. Gwenpool, for instance, she has a 2 power place 3, but she can't use it if she has an extract. She's a very tough character, so it's easy to let her grab a token early on. Now she starts taking a couple damage. She can just pass the token backward, jump into
pass the potato, Simon.
Roll.
I heard that.
And just play hot potato, pass it backwards, and jump into the fray. So there's some synergies here, some interesting and cool synergies here you can do.
Would agree, yeah. I also assume that Rhino would also be really good, right? As far as the affiliated models goes.
Yeah.
Just a huge HP sponge, and then if you dare, get rid of him or try to get rid of him, he'll have power to do his his what was the tactics card steal, right? Which is
Robbery.
really, really
Yeah.
good. Yep. So
Yep.
yeah, that's Kingpin. So but we can touch more on that like as we talk about the faction overall. Before we move on, I guess that we talked about scoundrels, right? For like secures. So I think that this means that this character probably leans much more into like, it's like, okay, you want like a decent score pacing, so you want like probably 8 points or so on the board, or maybe even 7 if it's like Deadly Legacy Virus, since they can assemble it. But he definitely doesn't want to be playing on a game that's like, let's say, only 6 points a turn, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Kingpin, like if you're playing Kingpin standalone or choosing to play Kingpin as your leader for a given game, I think he's definitely looking at like a higher speed of game. Friendly advice: if you want to get a look at like game speed, just count the numbers of VPs on board, right? So like Jian was mentioning, if there's like 7 VPs, you're leaning more on the slow side because on average, each player scores 3.5, so that means we're looking at realistically a 4, maybe 5 round game. So it gives your opponent a lot of chances to spike you or like have let their attrition or dice come through, as opposed to like if you're playing Scoundrels and Senators, there's 11 VPs on the board. That's on average a 3 round game, right? Arguably even 2 round game. So like being able to look at that, then ponder your choices if you're playing like Kingpin. Is it worth playing Kingpin as a leader or not? Is definitely something to keep going.
Yeah, like the faster the game is, right, the more the fact that you're probably going to be on your healthy side for a lot of your characters. And that means that leadership is going to go a lot of extra miles to get you those extra points. Sorry, I cut you off, Steven, for once. What did you want to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, too, like, I think one of the big issues with Kingpin in general is the prominence of pay-to-flips, and that's been a issue historically. So more often than not, you see some of these CS... I guess we can just say this now. More often than not, you'll see a dual plan in a CS list. So you'll see, like, the Kingpin game plan, and then you'll see, like, a Shadowlands or something like that. Or a Kingpin game plan and, like, MODOK, or, like, or crossed with, like, a different leadership or something like that. So...
It's worth keeping in mind that while like not playing Kingpin is usually a good heuristic, I think that's where like the skill expression with the extract passing ends up making a difference. Where like someone who is very comfortable playing the extract passing side might want to play that even on a pay to flip because it is a very strong effect. So, like, it's still worth considering playing Kingpin even on a pay-to-flip if you think you're going to be able to leverage the extract passing well.
I would agree with that. Also, like, Kingpin himself, like, just by the way, this character is really resilient to damage because he's got the ability just to pay for, a damage reduction, and that's, not to a minimum of 0, which is really good.
Kingpin as a character is really, really strong.
Yeah. One of the best spenders in the game, by the way. No triggers. You just pay 3 power. You get to throw a bucket of dice at people. You throw them automatically if they're size 3, and you automatically give them stagger. Like, it's incredible, actually.
Yeah, he has above average health and defenses, strong attack suite, excellent superpowers. Like, the only thing that holds him back is a short speed, but if he had a medium speed, he'd be one of the best forwards in the game.
Agreed. Yeah, at least you have characters like Loki or maybe some other like splashes that you can take now that maybe can help his mobility if you really need it to be. But there's also been several times I've just seen him just very comfortably just walk to a location and just be like, okay, I'm here, like deal with me. He is terrifying, by the way, on Infinity Formula, as I've come to realize, because his throw is only 2 power. That man just walks, throws, and I just can't do anything about it. And then, like, it's an incredible gear check that you need against a Kingpin list. So
for sure.
Okay, so let's see. I think we've spent enough time on Kingpin, so let's move on to the next newer popular affiliation leadership, and that's Shadowlands Daredevil. So Shadowlands Daredevil, if I can just introduce him, is like, it's interesting because he is also kind of a potato himself. He's got a lot of health. He's got radar sense, so he gets kind of blanks for his physical and energy defenses. He does have a stat change, like, so he goes from like a 4-3-3 to I think a 3-3-4. I want to say on the other side.
4,
But the most important thing is the fact that he brings a character that brings grunts inherently. So he has hand ninjas that can pick up extracts They can sacrifice themselves to give it to other players or other characters within 3. But he also brings one of the most consistent reroll offensive leaderships in the game, because it's not a once per turn leadership. It is a leadership that lets you reroll 1 attack dice as long as you're attacking somebody that's either holding or contesting an objective. It includes the skull result if you want to reroll that. And it's not limited to a once per turn, which I think is insane, especially for, like, let's say a rapid fire character or something. So, Steven, did you have any time to play with Shadowlands Daredevil at all? Or?
Yeah, not in the past weekend, but like I took him to the Battle Standard and was playing him for like 3 or 4 weeks around November. He's immensely fun, and I think the model himself, as many other people have talked about, he's a fucking potato. If you could have access to that leadership without taking that model, it'd be pretty dope. But he's kind of got that Steve issue. But I think the typical Shadowlands list that became popular is like Loki, Mephisto, Shadowlands, and then like a 3. And then you kind of build from there. So it's their best mission, in my opinion, is Meteors. They just fucking rock on that 3 pay to flip. But yeah, when you remember to do your leadership, it's very powerful.
Yes. Yes, yeah. As long as you remember your leadership, it is quite good.
Yeah, no, all jokes aside, like, it's a very, very powerful leadership. You are going for the attrition game plan. Like Mephisto with Loki, Loki bumping him up, getting Mephisto active early on, and then getting those beams going with the rerolls is just insane.
Really, really scary, very, very fast.
Yep. And then you also have access, as we mentioned, to the Team Tactics card where you can steal Prio. So you can have a really, really killy turn, steal Prio, and do it again.
Yeah, and this is due to the fact that Shadowlands Daredevil does not have very many superpowers to spend his power on, actually.
Yep.
On the front side, I think the way you can spend power is just on his spender.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, on the back side, you can spend for finally a superpower, but it lets you make your normal spender into an area attack too instead. So
yeah, he's a really good all according to plan battery. Really good.
Yeah, if you decide to flip Shadowlands Daredevil, chances are that there's a good chance the team will now have all according to plan power. And if they've just used those leaderships to just daze a bunch of models and then get priority, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to try to KO one of your models or more. So it's quite potent. Simon, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. One of the things I'd like to touch on is that Shadowlands and Kingpin are very, very complementary as leaders, since they play very drastically different playstyles, but have enough models overlapping that they both love, that you can very easily build roster featuring both leaders and have all the relevant characters you want, and you can just adjust like we talked about earlier on according to scenarios. So if you're on a super slow map, you can play Daredevil and go for the more attrition-y part of your list, and if you're on a super fast map, you can default to Kingpin and play the more scenario part of your list.
Yeah, my current CS list is Shadowland and Kingpin. So for those who are wondering.
Yeah, that's the most recent competitive CS list we've seen having repeated and sustained success. It plays both and just plays the overlapping pieces, and is inherently very flexible and adaptive.
Yeah, and we should talk actually a little bit about how when the missions changed, it became much more playing a dual leadership, especially Kingpin, Shadowlands, when you have to have 5 extracts, 5 secures, becomes a lot more easier to manage that, pulling a bad mission or your opponent, dropping scoundrels or something like that and picking something else. Now you have a really easy to navigate, quote unquote, splash leadership. So.
Yeah, it's a very interesting in the new 5 extracts, 5 secure roster requirement. You can now potentially have them let's say, draw 2 either high scoring crisis or 2 low scoring crisis and you're also flexible enough to go into either of those. And whereas they may be more specialized and they would rather not see one of those sets, that can come up once in a while. That's very interesting. I think this also helps out that there's been some recent models that came out that have been like very good CS models. They actually have a lot more long movers now. So I know we've been talking about potatoes a lot, but like Prowler and Echo, just in a general sense, have been a nice invigoration for this affiliation.
Yeah.
So Echo is like nearly Zemo in terms of killing ability, whereas she also has Wallcrawler being a long mover as well. So she's very interesting as far as like being able to reach objectives or enemies like very quickly. And between the Death Dancer and her bullseye mechanic, she can actually do a ton of damage into like reroll focused characters. Like I'm willing to throw her into an ASM because I think she can actually do a decent amount of damage to him, for instance.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like both Prowler and Echo being long movers with charge and guns and range for guns that deny defensive tech, like because they both deny rerolls, have been extremely good there. Under both Kingpin and Shadowlands. Like Prowler's tactics card makes him a very, very interesting Kingpin piece, as well as like the ability to refund once per turn when he interacts. Makes him a good pay-to-flip piece as well. So like that has been very helpful for Kingpin, and Echo just being an all-around amazing 3 threat has like filled the gap CS had for the longest time.
Yep, and now it also makes the crossover plans like much more viable. So that's been, I think, a very strong point that we see in current CS lists nowadays, which is really, really cool. So we mentioned Deadly Meteors. So as a whole, we would say that is it just like the low scoring extracts, or is there any faster scoring extracts that you think that Shadowlands would enjoy?
Also, something that just popped in my head, the Shadowlands Kingpin mix is also a really good team list because it plays into both attrition and like extract play. So like it can be a very, very, very strong team style list where you can kind of be the first drop, and play into anything. So I'm just kind of noting that here. That's like an interesting way to use this criminal list or use those two.
There's several models that you're not necessarily taking away from your other teammates, right? There's not a lot. There's no mutants, right? Here, you're not taking away any Avenger pieces, right, and stuff like that. And I think that's a really good call out, actually, Stephen. So yeah, for team events, I really, really do like them for being a good team player list.
Yeah, I agree. I think like CS is definitely large enough and well-rounded enough that you can easily play almost all affiliated and end up with a really, really strong list.
Yeah, that has like a pivoting play style too, which I really think is important in like a team style. You're either going like ham into like, one style or you're like having an all-rounder, and like the Kingpin Shadowlands mix up does like provide both options to be a more well-rounded list.
Let's see. Does anyone want to call an extract that potentially like Shadowlands Daredevil would enjoy?
I think you're mostly looking at like slow scoring.
Yeah.
So you're looking at like Alien Ship, Montesi, Legacy to an extent, especially if you're on a slow secure, like if you're on Deadly Meteors, Intrusion, Mayor Fist, Wedding Party. Like you're looking at the like 3 VPs for the most part, going to 2 even sometimes. I think the new extracts, Jailbreak, right? Yeah, Jailbreak can definitely be very strong there because you have both people carrying it and the spawning points, as well as the secures, while not being super fast scoring. So like that's something that's definitely interesting for Shadowlands.
Yeah, I definitely like the new secure because it does slow the game down, and like you do have pretty fast pieces that can potentially rotate around to do stuff. Jailbreak is a little weird, Simon, though, because like although Nick's runs got the errata that they are able to interact with the Jailbreak extract sources, the hand ninjas currently are not able to, actually, which is really weird.
Yeah, very sadly.
So until AMG fixes that, there's going to be a little bit of weirdness to that. But Shadowlands Daredevil himself is like pretty resilient enough that he could just walk up and pick up stuff, whereas then he just go and do other things as well. It'll generally be very slow scoring, and people have to stay within the radius, so that that does lead to some more interactions, including attrition. So let's see. All right, so we move on to MODOK, Scientist Supreme. So
I love me some MODOK. MODOK 2 is one of my favorites. One of my favorite MCP models to play. He's just like so dynamic with his superpower suit, sweet his attacks. Like he just plays in a very interesting fashion, like as a character. I think his leadership is definitely more mid-range than the two others we've seen. Like Kingpin is very scenario-focused, Shadowlands is very attrition-focused. I think if you want to play something kind of down in the middle, MODOK is probably what you're looking for. So basically his leadership is once per turn. When you attack or defend, if you're holding or contesting an objective, and you have a wild in your roll, you can change one of your dice to a hit or block. So like it gives you offensive and defensive dice fixing by just playing the game, right? If you're holding extracts, if you're standing on secures, you get dice fixing.
yeah,
It's like generic enough, but also like weirdly enough, mathematically it is a very strong leadership.
yeah, and it's very specific dice facings, right, that you get too. So I can see like a lot of either wild hit characters or wild shield characters. Like if you have some triggers from that, it's very useful for those characters to get those triggers within the MODOK leadership. So that's been really cool. His kit itself is like really well rounded. He has access to all three attack types. He's got a builder that can do either physical or energy. He's got a mystic spender that can also like displace people while also giving them stun. Like and it's and he's no size restrictions there. He can still destroy terrain. Only throw it short, but it's good. Just have an extra damage dealing option at close range. If you have characters that generate a lot of power, he's able to siphon the power for all the world is beneath me to get the extra dice fixing from there. And then the thing that I really like about him is his reverse bodyguard. So not since Red Skull 1 do we have a reverse bodyguard character. So this is very interesting. Like you can use this to shunt some damage into your Rhino, Crossbones, or Abominations, right? So yeah, if anyone, Stephen, you got something to say about MODOK?
Nope, I just hit the button on an accident.
Cool. All right, so he is MODOK, master of the myth. Yeah, go ahead.
I've never actually used, maybe like 2 games, but I pretty much am like pretty unpracticed on MODOK's leadership. So,
yeah,
unfortunately.
Well, so the limited games I've got to play were with him. So like he is vulnerable to displace because he is only a size 3. That's still really weird that his other version is like a size 4, but this one's a size 3.
Yeah.
So he ends up being like moved around quite a bit. So I don't know. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, there's a few things worth keeping in mind if you're playing him. Like I think the leadership encourages you to play very mid-range, but also very mid-range characters, right? Because you want to play enough models to be able to leverage the dice fixing offensively and defensively, but you also want to have like dice pools that are large enough so that you can semi-reliably leverage it. So like I think if you're playing MODOK, you're looking at playing a lot of 3s, a lot of 4s, and not too many 5/6 and not too many 2s, right? I think the other thing that you have to keep in mind is that he is one of these characters that change a lot on the backside. So like it goes from 7 to 5 health, but the reverse bodyguard becomes free when he's injured. So like that's a very relevant change that like some people either forget or like go over.
Yeah, it's definitely there to help compensate for the 5 health right on the backside because that gets like pretty scary very quickly. 335, he's like a huge Chad against mystic attacks, but otherwise, yeah, he's very vulnerable to be hit. Like if you let him get hit by something. So,
yeah. One of the characters I really like playing with MODOK that'll segue well into the next and final leaders, Electra, just because like the dice fixing really helps martial prowess become better because it's a pretty mid or like it's not a great defensive tech, but when you're able to bump up your dice to 5, then get additional dice fixing to do damage, it helps make it become a lot more reliable. And by being able to spawn the ninjas, you can always have like fodder to sacrifice to MODOK.
Yeah, I like that angle very much. Yeah, the fact that the ninjas are like they're interesting because like they're the kind of the worst grunts available right now, like in terms of like what they're able to do in a turn. But because they're sort of like no resources, right, to actually spawn them, and you can get them out like quite frequently, especially in Electro from a range 3 attack. You will get like this free like little unit of hit points that Modok can just shunt attacks into. That definitely helps keep them alive like really really well. So yeah, so grunts definitely are great fodder. Is there any recommendations that you have, Simon, for another Modoc model that you might want to see off in the list?
I think a lot of models with like pierce or like very strong wild triggers are good with Modok. Like Black Cat is sneakily a model I really love with Modok because she like takes attacks very well. If you want to fuel her power by deflecting from Modok into her, but her also having a like 4 die builder with pierce. If you just get your wild, you get to convert another die. So like it helps Black Cat build a lot more power and makes her even tankier than she is under all the other leaders. So like she's sneakily very strong here. The other one I love a lot that has like additional synergy is Killmonger, like the original Killmonger.
Yep.
Because you again have the pierce on the builder, but you get to, because the leadership doesn't care whether when you're attacking or defending if you turn the hit into a block or if you turn your die to a hit or block, you can use special forces to count your block instead. So if like you roll a wild at 4 blocks and like 3 blocks and a hit, you can turn your hit into a block and then pay for special forces to have 5 successes or like whichever amount it is. So it's like cute additional synergy.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but yeah, that's a good call out, Simon. I think most people have not seen that before, or it's been a while since you've looked at a Killmonger versus card.
Like OG Killmonger is one of the models I really liked with Modok because like he's a good beneficiary from All According to Plan. The Pierce with the leadership helps you push damage through. And when we talked about cruelty earlier, like being able to usurp the throne, and then builder, having the leadership, the dice face, and if you fall a little short, you can always cruelty then. So like you have Killmonger making a 7-die attack, 9-die attack into 5 dice attack, with stealing prio when like having the leadership of the dice face can be like very, very scary.
It's really good. I guess also
I really like that, Simon. That's a good call out, I think. The cruelty on Kingpin to guarantee the 2 VP.
Yeah,
I really like that.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And like it gives Killmonger the ability to just like edge out if he falls a little short. So like that's really good.
Which he does sometimes, in my experience.
Yeah, and like being able to use special forces on cruelty. So even if you roll like all blocks, you can just use special forces and treat them as success. So like because it's not modifying your dice per se, you have a higher chance of just making it relevant as well.
I like it. Yeah, definitely folks try that out if you haven't tried Killmonger like in a while. Also, just call out very quickly that inherently like your big pushy guys, both Abomination and let's see, M'Baku, they definitely love the triggers of a wild hit. So they get a lot of mileage out of this leadership, specifically within this affiliation.
Yeah, I think the other one I would shout out for Modok is Crossbones 2, Merciless Merc. Like, he has a hit and run beam, he has aggressive, so like being able to deflect attacks into him to let him reposition and like place himself for optimal beams is also really good. Like, he's another model I'd definitely be looking at if you want to play Modok.
For sure, yeah. I think Crossbones versus Merc is actually like pretty playable. As long as you make sure that you point him in the right direction on deployment, that you have to be so like deliberate with him on deployment. But once he's actually in the spot, though, he feels pretty good. He's going to stick around.
He's surprisingly mobile with aggressive and hit and run.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see. So, So I guess up here he's like the most mid-rangey of the CS leaders. Like, what missions do you guys think that he wants? I assume because of his low mobility, maybe he still wants like tighter missions. Like is he the Mcron guy, or is he what does he want here? Let's see.
I think Modok wants mid-range both like as scenario speed and as shapes. Like you want like scenarios that are not too wide, not too tight. Like for me, Deadline is probably like the ideal mode actually, just because it lets you leverage his range without having to expose him too much. Same for the new secure, right? Lockdown, because you're able to contest it too. The 4 range gun is actually really good there. I think you want to try to look at those like not quite very attrition scenario, not quite very fast scoring scenarios. I think you really want like the quote unquote average scenarios and try to have like tokens on the midline to leverage your good offense early on. Like I think he falls like right between Shadowlands and Kingpin, like scenarios where you could play either, but you're like, it's fine, is where I think Modok is the best.
Yeah, so maybe
so like,
go ahead, Steven.
Sorry, Jian. I was just saying, so like probably like if you're seeing like a kind of relatively mid-board stack of missions, and I use when I say stack, just so people know, I mean like the shape that the secures and the extracts make when they're on the board. So like probably like an 8-point relatively mid-board stack. And then like that seems pretty good for him, right? Simon, that's kind of what you were saying.
Yeah.
Yep. I think the only thing that I probably would be hesitant to take him on is probably those like wide D shapes, right? Where like, you know, he can get kind of isolated like too quickly. So that would be my only thing, is that like there may be some secures where like he could get stranded somewhere, and that might be a tough spot for him to be in sometimes.
Yeah, and I think the reverse is also true. Like I think if you have two shapes that are too fighty, like Fisk or Intrusion, he can be a little scary because he's not super durable. So unless you're willing to like leave him off the point and just to have him be a turret, he's not a big fan of those either.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about our final leader, but not least, maybe our personal favorite among the 4. We have Claw.
Yeah, definitely my personal favorite.
And often forgotten about leader that people don't seem to take into account.
Yo, so I have a funny anecdote slightly. So I used to run a Kingpin Claw. This is probably not the smartest thing. I'm not saying I was the best player at the time. But I just started playing the game, and I had just moved on from Cabal, and I was like, I'm going to play Criminal. And I did a Kingpin Claw leadership, and Maddox used to make fun of me all the time for like me just like using Claw to like set up a supersonic annihilator. Because it was a kaiju meta back then, so it was like this seems pretty good right now. So, and I did run versatile strategy, so I'd do early rounds Kingpin, switch to Claw, and then put him in a good position for the supersonic, which when against an evolving community was a pretty good list at the time. We weren't playing, wasn't as sweaty as it is now. Let's put it that way.
I mean, Supersonic Annihilator became a lot better now that it doesn't hit. Like it doesn't. You don't have friendly fire now, so like
that's true.
It actually like stocks up.
It's a solid card, and I should probably mention what it is. It's an area 5 attack. It's just like so absurd, but before we get to that, we should probably talk about his like what he actually does on the table.
What? No, he does Supersonic Annihilator. That's what works.
That's what he does.
You bring an area 5 attack with him, and that's all he does. But no,
it does stun everyone too. That card, but
yeah. So actually, like he has his builder is actually kind of insane. Actually, having to play with him a few times over the weekend. So the fact is, like his suppressive is before damage is dealt, he removes power from you, and the stun that he has also is before damage is dealt. So this guy can like throttle your power like quite a bit, and leave you with almost no resource sometimes if you get like an incredibly good roll. So that's been crazy. So range 3, 6 dice, energy builder, nothing to slouch up from the first, and 2 really, really relevant triggers.
Yeah, one of the cool things is that like if you get the stun, you're also guaranteed a suppressive because stun is crit wild and suppressive is wild. So as long as you're hitting the stun, the model you're hitting is not gaining any power unless they have like ornery type effects, right? Unless they have superpowers that give them extra. So like you can even do a builder, do damage, and if you roll more than one wild, you could leave the model on like less power than before you attacked it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that didn't happen at all over the weekend in our games, did it, Jian?
Nope, not at all. He did not hit double wilds every time while stunning you. Every time he attacked.
Yeah, it's a really deceivingly strong builder, I think. So definitely good work on calling that out.
Yeah. So interesting thing about the spender now, he's got a beam 5/7 dice spender for range 5. It's got kind of the Whisperer tech where, like, if you put this range tool down, it'll destroy any size 2 or below interactive features along the way, and it can pierce. I wonder, like, with the higher prevalence of like size 1, size 2s that you'll see on maps now, having this ability to sort of like get rid of a bunch of terrain can be really good if you, like, let's say, are afraid that there's going to be a lot of collisions coming in. Like, yes, they're less lethal now, but because there's more of them, it maybe is more frequent, and that can be a way for you to protect themselves. But also, he's got a beam 5 on top of an area 5 attack. So, if you line him up, he can definitely get you. And the reason he can get you is because his leadership is one of the most selfish leaderships I've ever seen, but it's great. So whenever an ally character,
I love that. It totally is. Like, what the fuck?
It's the Claw Show, baby. So, so Black Market Entrepreneur for listeners, when an ally character is dazed or KO'd for any reason, after the effect is resolved, Claw may advance S in any direction. So, like, yeah, this guy moves around the board a lot, like, during the course of the game. Simon, you had a thought?
Yeah, like, Claw is deceptively mobile. Like, it's one of these leaderships that I remember when he came out, everyone kind of dismissed as, like, being very, very bad. And, like, underwhelming character with a, like, terrible leadership. But once you play him, like, it's one of the things that, like, plays significantly better than how it reads, right? It doesn't read super good, but because, like Jian mentioned, it's just whenever your characters are dazed or KO, regardless of if they're from friendly or enemy effects, you have a surprising amount of control here. Like, when we go down Claw superpower, it has very, like, relevant synergies with his own kit. So, like, I think Claw is definitely one of the models I wouldn't splash, but that works. Like, his kit really comes together when you play him as a leader.
100%. Yeah. Go ahead, Steven.
Well, I do want to call out, too, for those of you who are scoffing at this. Claw leadership has actually won a couple tournaments. I don't think in the past year, but the year before that, I'm pretty sure there was a guy running him who won, like, more than one major. So before you scoff at old Claw, Maddox, I'm looking at you.
Well, I'll be the one to share the good news. A lot of it was me, because I remember like the year he came out.
I didn't know it was you.
Like, I made top 16 at LVO with him, I think 2 or 3 years ago.
Was I looking at your list without knowing who you are now?
That's very possible. Like, I was.
Oh, that's so funny.
Running him for a very long time. Like, I think the year he came out, at one point, I had the majority of games recorded on Longshanks with Claw. I had close to 60% of Claw games were mine.
Okay, well, everyone thanks Simon for proving that he's not bad. That's crazy. That's a really weird little blast from the. That's a weird little thing. I was like looking at your list definitely. Then at some point,
I had a couple streamed games back then. I know, like, Everwinter, I think 3 years ago now.
I probably watched them, to be completely honest.
I know I played against, like, Phil d'Anjou, I think, on stream. And then, like, I had another game at Alvio, I think it was round 2 or 3 against Wakanda. So, like, there were some definitely good showings. I think he's a very fun leader. I think he's not as good as he was in the previous metas, but he's still, like, an extremely fun character and one of my favorite characters to play in MCP overall, even though he's not the most competitive.
Yeah, so listeners, Steven invited Simon to be on this podcast because I thought he knew about his run with Claw. So this is just delightful all around.
No, I knew Simon was running Kingpin a lot, in the past 6 months or so at one point. And that's why I was like, oh, Simon should come on. He's played a lot of Criminal. I've seen him over time. Did not draw the connection that you were the Claw guy.
Most of the CS I've played are actually Claw and MODOK. Like, I've played
Okay.
okay amount of Shadowlands and Kingpin in, like, the past year. But, like, most of the CS games I played were with 2 other leaders.
Yeah, so I just live under a rock sometimes and don't know what I'm doing. That makes total sense for me.
This is just so great, listeners. So I also call out the fact that Claw is one of the few people that also just doesn't get pushed by Doctor Strange, who is a terror if you ever get to play against him. Do the absorb vibrations, and yeah, that soundwave barrier that he has also just sneakily just will deny characters points if they're not looking for that push at the end of their activation. So yeah. He's got a lot of interesting stuff. I will say that he is fairly fragile, in my opinion, as a 5 threat. It is 7 health that he has on the front side, and then also 7 health on the back side. But 353, if you do target him physically or with mystics, like he does go down with any concentrated amount of firepower. So you have to be very careful not to overstep him.
He does have the ability to heal, and he also sneakily gains a lot of power with absorb vibration. So whenever he's targeted by enemy physical or energy attack or makes a dodge roll, he gets to gain a power. So I think that the changes to throws actually benefited him a lot, because that was definitely one of his big weaknesses, just big weaknesses for just having something thrown at him. Now that everything kind of just deals max 3, he can heal, he gains extra power. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah. The soundwave barrier is also awesome because it's a super control superpower.
I think soundwave barrier is the reason to play Claw. I think it's definitely the character defining ability and the one that works the best with his leadership, right? I think the best, in my opinion, the best or most efficient way to play Claw is just to play threat saturation. So you play a lot of glass cannons. So whenever your cannons die, Claw gets to advance and control other models. So for instance, if a model hits one of your models once, hits it twice, dazes them, now your Claw gets to advance, and if you advance within range 3, you can push the model that just ends their activation. So he's also surprisingly mobile and has a surprising amount of control with his superpower. So that's something that can be very deceptively strong. Yeah,
when you have that out of activation movement, and you can deny them that points because of that. Yeah, they sometimes will just blipped on that. I also call it that his immunities are actually quite good. He's got bleed, incinerate, poison, and shock immunities. So these are very good because that's the Dracula abomination. Shock is also just not being able to reduce his dice is really relevant. Yeah, and the fact you can't incinerate him has also been really, really good. So yeah, his immunities are really good into the condition game if you expect that also from the opponent as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What does Elsa give out?
Elsa? She gives out roots, I think, and she also gives out incinerate. And there was one more condition I want to say that she gave out, but I can't think of it.
Is it poison? No, we don't have to look that up. But I was just curious. He does
slow.
Not like root.
She gives slow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No one's immune to slow.
With the leadership, you can get around pretty effectively.
That's true.
Yeah. So diving into that case, so the thing that I do want to call out immediately is that my favorite thing to take with Claw right now is one of the hand ninja characters. So I'll simply just say Electra because I think she has an easier time generating the ninjas.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree.
So one of my favorite things to do is that if you have a non-midline objective, right, just to have the ninja pick up one from first activation to just pass to somebody, then Claw will then get a free short move up. If he's deployed directly across from something on the midline, so he's only one medium move away now after that short move to be on that objective, and he still has an attack that he can do afterwards, which has been very interesting to sort of put some pressure on the characters. But I'm trying to think of what other models do you think you would like to take? I have plenty of splashes that I would like to take with him, but you guys think of any other CS models?
I actually really love Modok too under Claw. Like I think, like we talked about with Shadowlands and Kingpin, I think Modok and Claw are both two leaders that synergize really well together, and it's easy to pair them together because like with Modok you can redirect attack, so you can make sure the attack goes into one of your models that's like very close to dazing to be able to control where your leadership trigger goes. Even if it's just into grunts. So like being able to control where your attack goes helps a lot control when and how you do the leadership.
Yeah, that's actually a really good call out. So yeah, like so if you want your grunts or your goons to sort of just die as much as possible, and therefore you're going to get a lot of resources. I'll just say it here. I think Mummy is like incredibly good
Yes,
as a sponge with Claw, but he's also really good in Shadowlands as well. It's just because like there's things are going to be dazing all the time, but especially since you're proactively destroying your own grunts a lot of the times with Claw and with the Modok, let's say as well. You're going to be farming a lot of resources, extra movement, and then soul tokens if you're doing that sort of build. So that's been very fun to see, like coalesce like on the field. Do you guys have any preferred? Well, I'm looking at you, Simon, like because you are the Claw guy. Crisis. Can you at least give us two crises that you think Claw really likes to see?
Yeah, I think Claw is surprisingly good on D shapes actually, where you can like because he's going to be surprisingly mobile with his leadership. Because while naturally playing the game, you're going to have models that are going to daze and KO, so you get to move around freely and push people off points during their own activations, while being able to like yourself be on a point or control a point there. Otherwise, like it's really the extreme opposites, right? He either likes kind of super wide shapes or super tight shapes. Just to be able to leverage his control. So like on super tight shapes, things are also going to die very quickly. I think he's like one of the best Deadly Meteors character, just because he has 5 dice to roll on meteors. He can heal. He can travel between them like without taking actions. So I think like Deadly Meteors is probably his favorite scenario. I think he's also a very good intrusion piece, as like anyone that ends an activation within 3 of them, you can just push away from the secure, so they have to walk even if they want to teleport. So like his area denial can be really, really scary.
Yeah, I'm also kind of leaning to think that he actually might be really good on those Fixkin Wedding Party as well, because these secures will move around periodically, right, through the course of the map. So if he's the leader, he should be able to get himself onto it. And then also, like, because you're moving these things around, you can move these in a way that maybe there isn't any real good backstops, right? And from there, you can make sure that the that push power can really like have a big effect on the board.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are the scenarios he likes the most. I do think, like you mentioned earlier, he's kind of on the fragile side, so you still have to be careful. But I think it's scenarios where he's definitely very efficient.
For sure.
Jian, sounds like you really love Claw.
Yeah, I realize we spend a lot of time on Claws, so listeners...
He's just so much fun. Like, I think of
he is a lot of fun.
The worst of all the 4 leaders we talked about, but I think if you're looking for like a fun, good time or play something that's a little harder to play but is very interactive, Claw is definitely a good.
Looking at you, Pedro. I love Claw. Brick, do you really love Claw? I love Claw. I don't know why. I'm so sorry. That was such a bad joke.
But no, I think there is some juice there. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, every leader in this affiliation is very viable. I think there's a build that you can be pretty satisfied with altogether. Even Claw, which you think like is kind of gimmicky, there is some juice there as well. And between that, I think we can then start talking about. Let's see. I mean, is there any other general CS characters you guys want to talk about? Because we jumped around a bit, but the roster's huge.
Yeah, so I just wrote that in so we could call out maybe a couple that we really. I mean, we mentioned a lot. Ones I'm going to look through right now and see if we haven't mentioned any. So Hood, and we briefly mentioned Gwenpool, but we haven't mentioned Hood. I think Hood's a pretty good piece as a 3 threat for them. do I want to do? Should we do this? I don't know. Well, the only one there is like Hood that I really like, but
Yep. I think we didn't touch on him, but Mephisto is like an extremely strong character under Shadowlands Daredevil,
yeah.
and like
I mentioned him briefly when we were talking about Shadowlands because he is kind of like the staple nowadays.
yeah,
but
I do think like that's the thing with CS. Like you have a few characters that are like just staples. I think Loki, Prince of Lies, is just like one of the best CS models overall, and I think you can play him under any of the 4 leaders, and it is a correct choice. Same for Echo. I think like those 2 characters for me, you can play under any of the 4 leaders, and they're going to do great.
Yeah,
but you have otherwise like circumstantially good characters like Mephisto under Shadowlands, Prowler under Kingpin, Abomination, just a solid model overall. Like you have a surprising amount of roster depth, and I think that's something, if you want to pick up CS, I encourage you to just experiment with the models they have, because they have a lot, and there's a lot of very like good synergies. Like
and there's actually there's a couple here. Oh no, I was just gonna call out too. There's a couple here that I think I even mentioned to Jian that like I would like to experiment with at some point, like because I haven't used Wrecking Crew under. I was using him in like a wide cabal, or them under a wide cabal list, and I think they have some kind of like sort of an answer to a B-map situation, and then Mysterio too. So those 2 I haven't used that much, but like they're there and they're both very solid models.
Yeah, Mysterio is super fun. One of the characters I sneakily like a lot, if you're playing MODOK, as Kingpin. Like when you're not playing him as a leader, he has a lot less of like pressure on him as your leader or a character to do stuff. And I think being able to provide him with offensive and defensive dice fixing makes him an extremely scary brawler. Like he has very good triggers on all of his attacks, so if you can help him build power with dice fixing, he becomes really scary, and inversely, he's already very tanky. If you give him defensive dice fixing, he becomes even scarier. So like I've really loved him on scenarios like Deadly Meteors and Intrusion, but not as a leader, just as a straight up brawler under MODOK.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there's a lot of just like hardy characters like that don't see a lot of play. Like Omega Red, the crossbow that we mentioned, like, there's certainly like very durable pieces here, and they also have access to a lot of the spider foes as well. So there's definitely something here as far as like, here's some limber models that are rotate around the board, but then there's also plenty of stuff that can also just stick around for a long time. Man, Taskmaster's a Criminal Syndicate character. Yeah, that character can be kind of interesting also if you just want to shunt attacks into him, and you can potentially just die from getting counterattacked as well. Let's see, there's Electro, but Sean doesn't believe he's a real character, so we'll move on in that case. Let's see. So splashes though, we've mentioned Mummy already, as far as just a general like attrition splash that people can take. Outside of Zemo and the usual top tippy top folks, is there any specific callouts you guys want to give out for splashes?
Yeah, one Lizard and Kingpin. I think he's the longtime MVP of my splash under Kingpin. Zemo as well. But Zemo is just obvious. I think Lizard's maybe a little less obvious, but probably still obvious. Obviously, for the Kingpin, plan, you want tough characters. And I guess let me just go to my criminal list, see if I'm doing anything else.
I'm gonna be dissident, but I've been a Lizard hater for a very long time, and I think his job
Warning, Simon hot take coming through.
Well, no. The take I'm gonna have is gonna be very, very mild. I think the role he plays, if you want to play him under Kingpin, is gonna get replaced by Ironmonger, who's gonna do something very similar while having a probably better kit for what the affiliation wants to do.
Plus, he's affiliated, so
yeah. And I think that's going to make a big difference. Like, I don't expect to see much of Lizards in Kingpin once Ironmonger comes out.
Yeah. And Kontu's also a good shout out to, in general, for all 3 leaders, or for all 4 leaders.
All 4 leaders, yes. He just works great with all 4 leaders.
Yeah, because generally, like, I think there's going to be some attrition that's going to happen. And even in Kingpin, who has the lightest amount, like, he really does appreciate a regenerating model with damage reduction. And that's just going to be such a pain to deal with, right, as well. So, yeah, he works, like, in every plan possible.
I think another splash I want to shout out is probably Red Skull 2, Red Skull Master of Hydra. Under probably all the leaders except for Claw. Just because I think with Claw, you really want the ability of the ninjas to, like, vanish and trigger your leadership on command. But, like, under Kingpin, his grunts get to count twice for secures.
So they routed that, Simon, actually, that they...
Oh, no, that's true, it's stun grunts. But still, he's still a very strong piece for all the... I think all three other leaders. Like, under MODOK, if you roll a wild, you can trigger either the Blitz or the push on the gainer. He still puts a high volume of attack with double taps from the grunts and his own attack, even if it's like he overlaps with Shadowlands by two of them having grunts, even though you can only have one at a time. Like, he's, I think, still worth considering there because he has synergy with all three of the leadership. But CS having a lot of good live threats makes him a hard to slash as well.
Yeah.
So, like, consider him.
I would definitely, yeah. Especially even if it doesn't count double under Kingpin specifically. I mean, you are likely then playing like a wide, like secure game, right? Or like a lot of points in the secure game a lot of the times. So just having healthy friends that can just spawn and just be somewhere is still extremely powerful as far as like putting that scoring pressure on people.
Yeah, it lets you like push up, like they say at the back line if you need them or something like that, or they hold a weak area of the board and you push up with your other healthy models, right? So. Right. It can make you like not be afraid to overextend with your CS pieces.
Also, yeah, agreed. So yeah. So with that, we can then move on to, let's see. Are there any other characters that we would like to see played more that maybe are underplayed? You think, or nothing comes to mind at the moment for you guys?
Wrecking Crew. That's it. I just haven't seen them too much in CS, and maybe that's a problem of their like being a 4.
Yeah, I think Wrecking Crew is really cool down as far as like I think people were pretty hot on them initially just because the ceiling was very high, but they are much harder to play. I think in person. Like
I think they work better in Cabal, like Red Skull 3 Cabal leadership. Yeah. But
see, you say that, but at the same time, they need all the power they can get to make sure they get multiple attacks, and that leadership requires them to expend power, though. So.
Yeah, but that's just my own personal experience, but I haven't tried them in CS, so I would definitely say they're something I would like to play around with.
I think underrated criminal characters are, like, my two picks would be Crossbones 2 and Gwenpool. I think both are very solid, if not flashy characters. Both are definitely more of the, like, workhorse type of models, but they both have DR, they both have very solid attack with Pierce. They're both fairly tanky and, like, surprisingly mobile, so they can fit both Kingpin and MODOK leaderships. So I think those are probably underrepresented, but I can see, like, with how strong Shadowlands and Kingpin's dual list is, it doesn't have room for these two, but I think, like, if you're looking for underappreciated models to put into play, Crossbones 2 and Gwenpool are solid.
Yeah, and shout out to Gwenpool's tactics cards. They're I forget which one's better than the other, but they're both very good. One lets you like play a card like off of, like take one of yours.
Stayed in your turn. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one does something else.
Yeah, it has two effects. Like the other one, I really like. They say keep your enemies close. So like Gwenpool can pay 3 when she makes an attack and is not within one of a model. If she's outside of 1, after the attack is resolved, you place the model within one of you. And with a range 4 gun, like, it's a lot of displacement. Being able to, like, shoot a model from range 4 and place it 1 behind you, like, it's a lot of distance. And because it's a gainer, from your native power, you could just, like, shoot, and then bring them back after the second attack. Otherwise, the other option is if you're within one of a model, it's an execute, so the model doesn't roll defense dice when you attack.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I think Gwenpool's definitely like underplayed. Like, yeah, she's incredibly resilient as a model and fairly mobile as long as you don't give her an extract. So there's definitely something that people can definitely explore there.
Yeah, I think she's good with Kingpin there, right? Because she's tanky, she has DR, she
Yeah.
has rerolls, and you're able to pass an extract if you have one to unlock her place.
Yeah, I think she's really good in Kingpin leadership, particularly.
Nice. The random thing I would like to shout out. I think MODOK is the most powerful Steve 2 that I can find. Because he's the only affiliation that I think he can get his flurry trigger consistently because it's a wild shield.
Oh yeah, good shot.
Yeah, and I say this because it's like I'm tinfoil hat on. Okay, so if there's more source extracts in the future, that type where you like your source extracts will reset, people will just drop them afterwards. Models like Quicksilver, Zemo 2, and Captain America 2. Those characters that can get that extra movement when they don't have an extract, well, suddenly that movement can become more relevant as time goes on in those kind of scenarios. So I'm interested to see if like those characters might get a resurgence, assuming hopefully they get an HP buff, maybe cross fingers, that they will see more play like in the next crisis setup. So we'll see. All right. So how do we beat criminals? So they are currently like sort of one, I would just say arguably top 5 affiliations in the game at the moment. So in each of them requires such a different like mindset to go into. Like when I was playing as Webs, like in the Kingpin, it was kind of a gear check. And I wonder how other affiliations sort of dealt with Kingpin, for instance, where either you had to sort of like burn them down so that they're no longer on their healthy side, or you have to have like reliable displacement, or like let's say you're wider and you're able to make a move their taller characters away from points, and therefore you can score them and sort of keep that points like parity. But yeah, like what do you guys think is the ways that you can sort of tackle against a Criminal Syndicate squad on the other side of the board?
I think one of the that goes into one of the main strengths of CS is that because it's so inherently flexible, I think being able to understand how they pick their leader and when to deploy each of the leader in order to be able to bring the right game plan into is probably key to try to beat CS, right? Just because they're inherently flexible, it may be hard to try to do like, are they going to go Kingpin, or are they going to go Shadowlands? And I think being able to like understand what makes them tick and like what to bring against that is probably your best way to go at it. So I think one of the best affiliations that like CS has a hard time dealing with is Apocalypse, just because you get to throw out so many conditions, you get to brawl very effectively. Like they can play super well into both Kingpin and Shadowlands. So that's probably one of the matchups that's like harder there.
Yeah, when you can just sort of like fight toe to toe with them, that sort of like can catch a lot of all their styles, right? More than half of the leaders like do want to like have a sort of a toe to toe conflict or sort of like play a more mid range game. So if you have a more efficient mid range game, that can potentially like win over against them. And you're right, yeah. Kingpin models are not invincible; they do go down to good quality attacks, so that could be a way to deal with them. The way that I sort of actually, Steven, do you have something you want to say regarding this?
You just can't stop Claude, man. Like, how do you deal with the S move? He's invincible. yeah, he's invincible. No, I mean all the things you guys have said are quite spot on.
Yeah.
And on that point, like even the Shadows lands list can like crumple if you just like send high quality, high dice pool attacks into any of those characters. Maybe beyond Loki, because that one's always swingy. The like typical like Mephisto, Shadowlands, and then like Mummy. Like if you commit to any of those characters with like a higher rate of attrition or more quality of dice, you can take them off the board pretty quickly. And when they lose one of their pieces in Shadowlands, the list tends to, depending on how many models your opponent has left, the list can crumble pretty quickly if you take out like the Mephisto activation or something like that. So
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, most of the models tend to have at least one weakness. So like Shadowlands, you can call it mystic attacks. Like in Kanto, like good energy, dice with good weight behind it, like will eventually take them down.
And displacing Mephisto's bodyguards is a really easy way to play around his activation.
Yes, you can either displace Mephisto or displace his bodyguards, and even if he does get the bodyguards, like you're still getting rid of the Devil's Dues tokens, so eventually, like he'll start running out of resources to bodyguard with.
And 5 dice beams for 5 power don't feel great on Mephisto, even under Shadowlands leadership. But also, like Shadowlands is a fucking turtle, so like just if you target Shadowlands in that one specific leadership and get them off the board, then again, like the models become way less effective.
Yeah. I think that's definitely one of the things you can do. Like you can outdraw Kingpin and to an extent Shadowlands, but you just have to like target to prioritize your targets in a way that like limits their output.
Yeah, agreed. So I guess then for you to sort of building against that, like we mentioned before, like the different crises that each of the archetypes like to see. So if you see there's multiple leaders within the Kingpin list, I think it's a good idea to sort of like get a head shot. Just like, okay, how fast are we scoring? Is this a pay to flip? Is this a wide secure? You sort of like go through sort of a checklist with yourself and understand like, it's like, okay, what leader would I pick? If it's this combination crisis, right? And from there, you can sort of then pick your anti-team from there. It's not going to work 100% of the time, but I think it's going to work more often than not. I think at least trying to figure out what are good counter picks you should have if you've taken them within your roster. And, just make sure that you have, either varied attack types or displacement. Like all these things are very useful, like to take care of such a well-rounded list like Criminal Syndicate.
Yeah, and on that note too, Jian, what we're talking about, we spent the whole episode talking about kind of like when you would pick this, and if you notice, our conversation was a lot about like we pick this leader in X mission most likely. So if the Kingpin player, or if the CS player is determining their leadership by the mission stack, then that means like you have the most opportunity to kind of read where they're going to go with that and plan accordingly based on that same decision or decision point in the game.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the most important part about facing CS is probably just having the core knowledge to do so. Like you understanding how they play. I think the best way to counter CS is just to play CS and see what works and what doesn't, so that you know what to bring against them when to bring it against them. It's really like a knowledge well you have to go into to figure out what works, more than any like, oh, play this X, Y, or Z model or X, Y, or Z tactic.
You gotta be careful though. You might become a CS player yourself by trying to like dive into the knowledge.
That seems like a false problem.
Yeah, you might become a claw player yourself.
A claw.
I really, while we're on that claw note, just very briefly, I really don't like how the MCU did him dirty. They made him such like a weenie.
They made him an Andy Serkis character for sure.
Yeah,
a live action Andy Serkis character, not a CG one.
Well, he is a very wacky character in the comics, so like it's different. How about the MCP sculpt? Like I'll just make a parenthesis here. The claw sculpt in MCP is just really gorgeous. They really nailed it.
You're like the only person I think that I've ever heard say that.
No, I agree. That claw sculpt is legit. Like,
all right, I've heard a lot of hate for that claw sculpt.
Phasing out, and like he just looks really good. My painter really hated painting him. Like he was really obnoxious to try to like make cool lighting and effects, but he really did it super well, and I'm very glad.
As someone who doesn't build or paint their own models, I'm gonna reserve judgment.
Yeah, as long as we don't have to assemble them and paint them ourselves, like this model is really cool.
Yes, he's great. Yeah,
get
him back after you've paid for him.
Yeah.
That model's a pain in the ass for those of us who do paint and build our models.
What, you don't like playing Harlequins?
Harlequins from 40K?
Yeah.
No, I hate. No, AdMech was actually the worst things I've ever built. I think ever. And Ultron from the starter set. those two building projects.
From what I've heard, Shuri and Okoye were amongst the most obnoxious models to build. I've also
their heads
heard
are like in 4 pieces or something like that, so it was pretty brutal.
Who else was it? Zemo has like a bunch of patches you have to put on him, and Miles too. I've had a lot of like bad feedback about the lining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to do some little bit of gap filling for that. So a lot of the early models, like which is nice. Sometimes they actually give you double of a piece that they think is like, this is gonna get lost in your carpet for sure. So we're gonna give you 2 of these.
I hate that they do that. Actually, why not just plan a better building strategy?
To be fair, the MG sculpts have gotten a lot better. They sort of avoid those pieces nowadays, so which is good to see. All right. So speaking of building and buying, so yeah, you want to guys talk about where do we think is the best place to actually start the affiliation if you want to purchase it?
Do they have a box yet?
No.
Yeah, they do, right?
Okay. So there's like, I was gonna say like hilarious stuff. There's a Spider Foes box that just came out, which has a lot of CS models in it, but those are more Spider Force focused than anything
That's actually
else.
probably not a bad place to start, though.
Yeah, I mean, it gets you a Rhino.
Kingpin box. Yeah. Oh, they do have a Criminal Syndicate. Yes, they do. It's got Hood, Bullseye, MODOK, and Kingpin.
Nice.
Yeah. So that, I mean, it starts there.
Yep. It gives you some attrition. It gives you Kingpin, right? It gives you some Stasi art cards, which are nice.
Unfortunately, I do have to say... Oh, sorry, Simon. I'll just finish my thought and then you go. I do have to say a lot of the boxes you will have to buy separately, which is a good and a bad thing. You can really lean into like a leadership or 2 if you're just picking them up. But they are coming in separate boxes.
Yeah, there's a lot of boxes that are like very solid picks that have both CS models. Like the Shadowlands and Electra, they're both solid CS models. Claw and Mbaku, if you want to play Claw, has another CS model. Mephisto comes alone. Rhino used to come alone.
But now he comes with 9 other models in the starter box.
Most of them are CS, so that's not too bad.
No, I'm saying actually it's not a bad start. Actually,
six other models in that box are CS. You get like Craven, Mysterio, Shocker, Vulture, Electro, Sandman, in addition to Rhino. So you have 7 CS models in that box.
Yep.
Goblin's also a foe, so you have 8 CS models in that box.
Yeah, really, there's way more CS than non-CS. Really, just Carnage and Lizard, but even then, like they could be fun splashes also to start out with. I'll also point out that the box that came with, so you have these are separate boxes, obviously, but the Prowler comes in that box with Miguel and Miles too, and then the Defenders box that came out that has Echo, Ronin, and Tigra. Those are all like good characters, even though they're not CS models. Like it comes with a really good affiliate character, and you have 2 really good splashes per box as well to try out.
And honestly, like they've released the Foes and X-Men starter set, I would be extremely surprised if we don't see a CS starter set at some point. Hopefully within the next 2 months, but that we don't know. But I'd be very surprised if we don't see one of the CS starter set.
Yeah, but if you don't though, like it's nice that there's now more options to start the game rather than like, hey, you have to buy like the Mighty 4 box, you know. So I appreciate them having some sort of like starting point for other affiliations, which is really really nice. So with that, do we have any final thoughts on Criminal Syndicate? Steven, any final thoughts?
They're fun. I think they're a really fun affiliation. They're the only affiliation I think that has 4 leaders to play around with, all of which are like relatively viable depending on like your competitive space. And like, you know, like I said, even like, you know, Simon's taken Claw to big events and done well. Like maybe this isn't the exact meta, but like there are definitely 4 solid affiliations to kind of like play around with. It's 34 models till Ironmonger comes out, then it's 35. So there's a lot of like room to play around and like have like dedicate like long, like be like, I'm going to play, you know, CS for the next 8 months and I'll probably never run out of ideas. So Those are my final thoughts.
Nice. Yeah, no, I agree. Simon, what do you think? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think like CS is definitely extremely well rounded. You can play it in all the place, like in most play styles that are available to the game. Like it's a very fun and unique faction, and it has the benefits of like randomly gaining affiliated models every now and then from just like, oh, this guy randomly commits crime, yes, and you get to have like new models come out surprisingly often.
I think Sunspot robbed a bank once. Let's put him in CS.
Well, honestly, like, why is Loki here? Like, is he committing tax evasion? I don't know.
Probably, to be fair. He is Asgardian. I don't know how they handle their taxes.
He's the prince of lies. The only thing he's lying on is his tax forms.
There you go.
He's honest all of the time except for his taxes. Yeah.
Well, you know, he did try to be a politician in at least one dimension, so that does make him a criminal automatically.
Exactly. And now he's holding his current MCU incarnation is holding all the timelines together. So I don't know how he's lying there, but worth mentioning because that new movie's coming out this year. So
yeah, for sure.
The Avengers. Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and wind this down. So first of all, I do want to say thank you to Simon for coming on. This has been a wonderful little chat that we've had, and we're happy to get a wealth of knowledge from the MODOK and Claws, especially from Simon, because I know that those are underexplored leaders that we don't get to see often on the table. Simon, would you like to plug where we can find you, and if there's any works you would like to plug as well?
Yeah, you can actually find me on most MCP Discords. I am on too many of these. You can find me under Vodka Blitz. I also used to run a blog mostly dedicated to X-Men, if you want to look that up. It's MCP First Class. You can easily find it on Google. But if you have any Claw questions or like if you just want to reach out, feel free to do so. I'm mostly on Discord. That's probably it.
Nice. Yep. Simon will occasionally have some hot takes that you can also indulge in as well. If you want to get him riled, you can also ask him about recalibration matrix and other things.
Just occasionally, I'm offended.
Just occasionally, yes. But yeah, we always appreciate Simon coming on as well. All right, so you can find Alive on One on Discord. We have an Alive on One Discord. We also have aliveonone@gmail.com. You can email us for whatever musings you want, complain, praise, ideas. We're open to anything. Just let us know in that inbox or on via our Discord. You can find a Red Room training series on RSMP Tabletop that I've done to help you get better at some of the basics of the game for an intermediate step into competitive play. Please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify and wherever you may prefer to listen. We always appreciate it. And then we also have an affiliate link below for hugeminiatures.com. Please check them out as well. And with that, Godspeed, hand ninjas. Good night.